just won gold place in this month's AAA Hobbies mini four-wheel drive box stock races. Against amazing competition this month, this was the final race of the season. I prevailed and won gold in this month's mini four-wheel drive box stock races. So cool, so cool, so cool. And I won it with a new car. This is my new car, Shiva, because it's blue, because that's a Hindu god, and because this is the Gunbluster XTO. Yay! Clear blue special, I believe. Pretty cool. A lot of people love this car because basically you're racing an FMA chassis with basically nothing else on it, because this is a polycarbonate shell which weighs next to nothing, and yeah, it just sits on top of this perfect FMA frame. The FMA chassis is like such a perfect chassis for certain types of tracks, speed tracks, jumps, everything. It's a good all-around performer for those kinds of tracks. The only other cars that would fare just as well as the FMA on speed tracks would be MA cars or VZ cars. So we did have VZ cars and MA cars in the finals, and that was so cool to see FMA, VZ, and MA representing. Pretty cool. So you saw the races and how I fared. On the first lap, it was basically head-to-head with every other car. Not too fast, not too slow. Second lap, it's getting a little bit faster. And on the third lap, it just totally prevailed. And that's so cool. It's fun to watch a car that gets faster and faster as time progresses, don't you think? So yeah, a lot of people were running their cars on these new Duracell Optimum batteries. These are super powerful alkaline batteries that have a 1.7 volt battery charge. So cool. The ones that I was using though, my tried and true batteries are the Rayovac high energy batteries. They're the ones that are blue and silver, and they usually go up to about 1.61 volts, maybe 1.62. If you're lucky, you'll get a 1.63, but never have I seen anything greater than 1.63 volts on a Rayovac high energy. However, these Duracell Optimums, I've seen time and time again, right out of the package, 1.7 volts. That's really powerful. Now, how do they achieve that 1.7 volts, you may ask? There's certain kinds of chemicals that the Duracell Optimum battery uses that allows the battery to be a little more juiced up than other alkaline batteries. So cool. And because of this, you can place those batteries in a pretty fast box stock car and make them go even faster. So cool. So I don't know what this car would be like with a Duracell Optimum, but I know that with Rayovac high energies, this thing flies around the track at full charge. Pretty cool. My other FMA cars, if I juice them up to full charge, this thing would corkscrew or course out. That's just the way the ball bounces, everybody. And here's the reason why on this particular car. As you race your cars again and again, especially FMA cars, things will wear down. So you see right here, right in the front, these are the biggest culprits to what's causing this thing to corkscrew. So over time, these rollers, which are supposed to be parallel to the surface, the ground, they end up tilting upward. So in other words, they start off flat and then they start tilting upwards so that they're at a slight angle. And this little bit of angle is enough to cause the car to corkscrew when it's coming off of the lane changer. So if any of you have cars, FMA box stock cars, that are corkscrewing after a lane changer, check your rollers. Make sure they are completely flat. If they are not flat, you're going to have to do something to repair your rollers, or the sockets, the screw threads that the roller screws go into, or you're going to have to just replace the chassis. And I think it's actually better to just replace the chassis. Once your car starts corkscrewing a lot, it's either, you have two choices. You can either replace the chassis or just run the car with lower battery voltage so that it doesn't corkscrew. So I was able to get this down to about 1.5 volts before it began to corkscrew. So anything above 1.5 volts, it would corkscrew without fail after the lane changer. That's just how it was. Previously, I was able to get a 1.54 volts, and that was cool. Anything greater than that, it would corkscrew. So over time, these parts here, they just get worn down. That's just a fact of life, especially with FMA. So yeah, all of you know that I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with basically all the chassis, but with FMA in particular, you've got these very weak front roller posts. And over time, these roller posts, the screw threads, they just get kind of wonky over time. And yeah, over time, you just have to replace these chassis. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. But you know what? FMA cars are pretty darn neat. The mock frame, for example, the Brocken Gigant, the Gunbluster XTO, all super cool cars. And this car now is considered a rarity, a collector's item. It's fetching well over $100 on eBay. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So there are vendors on eBay that are selling this car for as low as like $40, but you have to really search for them on eBay, and then you can get it for that price. Strangely though, I purchased this from China, and I think it was the Wawa model shop that I got this from. Previously I thought I had purchased it from AAA Hobbies, but I really did get it from the Wawa model shop. And sadly, I think it was like one of the last few left, and I'm not sure if they sell them anymore. I don't think they do. But if you can get your hands on one, this is a pretty cool car. Now I will say though that when I was racing this versus this in practice runs, this was actually faster with 1.5 volt battery charge versus this at 161. So I'm going to tell you that this is a faster car, the mock frame is technically a faster car, but right now, because I don't have a stable mock frame to race in box stock, and I don't have a stable Brocken Gigant to race in box stock, I'm racing this guy right here. Yeah, it's a very, very cool car, and it's lightweight. It weighs next to nothing. It's like under 80 grams, everybody. And yeah, it's just like racing a chassis without a body cowl. That's how cool it is. And everything is flat and straight. You can see it right here. Everything. The rollers are flatter and more parallel to the ground than this one. You can see the slight curvature. It's slightly tilting up on the rollers. And yeah, every now and again I have to kind of like gently push them down so that they are more parallel. So the way to actually fix this, if you want to fix it rather than replace the chassis, is to take a little bit of glue, a little super glue, drop of super glue in each screw thread, and then you work the roller and screw in, and you make sure that as you insert the screw in, it is perpendicular to the ground, and you have to really make sure of that. If you don't do that and you start inserting the screw in and it goes in at a crooked angle, well, your car is not going to be as stable as a new or almost new FMA chassis. So keep that in mind. It is not hard to fix an FMA chassis front roller screw threads, but it is a challenge to try to get everything precisely the way you want it. Yeah. So yeah, this thing prevailed. It was pretty cool. In fact, I wanted to make sure that I secured the first spot in the finals. So I juiced this car up to 1.61 volts, Rayovac high energy, and this thing just totally blew away the competition, and it was like, whoa, this is really fast. And I immediately got into that first spot in the finals, and I was like basically resting after that. I was like, load off my mind. Yeah, it was like big burden off my mind as I was able to just relax and yeah, just race master the rest of the race without too much worry until the very end. And at the very end, I decided, you know what I'm going to do is not use completely fully charged batteries, because I didn't want the possibility of this thing coursing out or corkscrewing. So I just kept the batteries as they were. I didn't change them, and it was still fast enough. Like the other cars, I think once you get into the finals, you want to be first. You want to be first or second. You know, like third place is cool, but really you want to be first. And a lot of people will do anything they can to try to be first. And one of the things is to try to juice up your batteries and try to make your car go as fast as possible so you beat everybody. And there's a chance you take. And you know what? If you want to be first, sometimes you have to take that chance. But I decided to take a more conservative route. I said to myself, you know, if I'm first, great. If I'm second, pretty cool too. Third, it's still good because like I'm in the top 3, right? So I was kind of in a relaxed mode right there. And I just said to myself, I just want to complete the race without coursing out. And even if you do course out in the finals, you still get points for that. So it's cool, like everything's more relaxed. So I just made sure that my car like finished in a satisfactory way to me. So yeah, I wasn't really expecting to be first. I was expecting to be at least second, but maybe not first, but I won because at the very end, that last lap, that's where this car just started going faster than everybody else's car, and that was cool. So yeah, lightweight cars, everybody. That's the secret. So anybody who's got the VZ chassis, one of my competitors raced a VZ chassis that had a polycarbonate shell. That's a good car to race. The VZ chassis with a polycarbonate shell is technically faster than this car. Faster. And that's a tall order because like FMA cars are fast, but VZ cars are very fast too. and technically faster, especially on speed tracks. The MA chassis is like a hit or miss, but if you get the one that has the polycarbonate shell, that's a fast car too. It's a really fast car. It's a force to be reckoned with. So if you get a car like that and race with that, you'll do fairly well, yeah. But I think the MA chassis car that we were racing against was not a polycarbonate shell. Now, when you race a car that does not have a polycarbonate shell, it's a heavier car, but it's going to be more stable so that it will traverse all of those waves a lot better than one with a polycarbonate shell. So with a polycarbonate shell here, you run the risk of the shell shaking so much that it will loosen off of the screws that are attaching the shell onto the body. So if you end up with a shell that's kind of like hanging loose, and you're still needing to traverse those waves, that's causing a little bit of drag and slowdown. So the best way to describe this is you use body dampers to help you with slope jumps, with hills. Body dampers or a body dampering effect with a box stock car that has a polycarbonate shell might not always be the best idea to use for tracks that are basically straight and without very many hills or jumps. Lane changer being the exception, that's technically a slope hill thing, but that's just one, right? In many of the races that we've had at AAA Hobbies so far, there were not too many overpass and underpasses in them. A lot of the tracks had mostly flat surfaces, and this one was no exception. This one was meant to be a speed track all the way. It was a replica, see here, a replica of the 2018 Japan Cup qualifying track. The qualifying track is the track that everybody races on so that they could qualify for the big Japan Cup circuit track, yes. So that's what AAA does. They use these special tracks that were designed for actual racing. And we all get to try these tracks out with our cars, and it's like so cool when we can find that proper combination of car to traverse the track successfully and possibly win. So yeah. Unfortunately though, my Tune class car didn't fare as well. It didn't course out at all. It finished every race, but it was not as fast as I would have liked. So what I had done was I had reduced the wheel size, the wheel and tire size, from 26 millimeter, the usual normal size tires and wheels, to 24, and that took a little bit of toll on the top speed there. So unfortunately, this was not as fast as other cars. It did win some races, but it wasn't as good as it was when it had the larger wheels. Everybody else had larger wheels, and yeah, they had some good solid stable cars running. There was one car that actually, Williams' car actually had little 24 millimeter wheels, but his car like weighed next to nothing because he had like very sparse amounts of rollers on them, and so he found the proper combination to get his car to be super fast and stable. So that was really cool. William had a good car, and he ended up placing third in Tune class. Pretty cool. So yeah, the top spot in Tune class went to my fellow MCBYTE racer, Joe, and that's awesome. Congratulations to him. And I won gold in box stock. So yeah, MCBYTE ruled the podium this month at AAA Hobbies. Pretty cool. And yeah, this racing season is over at AAA Hobbies. They're going to tally up all the scores. We're going to find out what our scores are and who wins the medals that they're going to be awarding soon. So pretty darn cool. So yeah, if I had to do this all over again, I'd probably just set this to be larger tires and wheels, and yeah, I would just work on trying to get the proper brake settings for the 26 millimeter wheels versus these 24 millimeter wheels. But you know what? It's a toss-up. Like, you have to really study a track and figure out how all of these parts kind of interplay with one another, because every track is different. There's going to be twists and turns at different locations. You have to basically count the number of turns there are. You have to also account for what kinds of straightaways there are and how far and how long they are. You have to account for waves. You have to account for where the lane changer is positioned, where the right angled turns are, the hairpin turns, any slopes involved, any hills involved, any sorts of crazy things that would be considered batshit crazy. Yeah, so that's the fun of mini four-wheel drive. The very fact that every track is different, and you have to solve the puzzle. You have to find the proper combination of things to place on your car so that you can traverse the track and not only finish the track, but possibly place in the podium. So yeah, pretty cool. Now, it's not all about winning, of course. It's about camaraderie, having fun with your fellow racers. You know, like we get to meet each other like once a month in some cases. And so you haven't seen somebody in like a while. It's good to basically reminisce of old days in mini four-wheel drive racing with your fellow racers. And it's good to like talk about ways of improving your car. Now, we have some serious racers at AAA Hobbies. There are racers who know how to fine-tune every aspect of their car. There are racers who know how to break in their motors properly so that they can get cars that are 25% or more faster than your average box stock car. And yeah, you can learn a lot from just hanging around these racers and asking them questions. 9 times out of 10, they will answer your questions if they know the answer to them. If they don't know the answer to the question, then they will defer you to someone who will be able to answer the question. That's what being a part of a club is all about. So the AAA Hobbies Mini 4-Wheel Drive Club, as it stands, it's the first year that they're doing this in a club format. So that's so cool. Everybody gets to kind of participate and help each other out in this, and it's cool. The goal, the main purpose of this is to help the hobby grow. And yeah, it's been a successful one this year. Why not do it next year too? Yeah, so cool. So yeah, they're going to try to find a different weekend other than the first weekend of the month, because for this season, the first weekend of the month didn't work out so well for some of the racers. So they'll try to find an alternate week to hold the races. Pretty cool. So yeah, gold, box stock, yay! If you love this video, everybody, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you, bye.